So once you've reworked the logo or the type for your package redesign and created some imagery, now what we're going to do is we're going to start assembling it on the template that you created. And I just want to remind you too, for this assignment, you only have to complete the front cell panel, which remember is over here on the left actually, and one of the side panels. It can be this one or this one. The reason for that is when you do the 3D render for the class, you're only going to be able to see two of the sides on this. Now, if you're doing a short box like a T box or something, I'm going to require you to do the top as well. And we'll talk about that moving forward here after we do the crit where I see where everyone's at. But we're going to go ahead and start assembling the front cell panel here based with the elements that I have. So what I would ask you to do on here is, if you've built your template, it should probably be all on one layer at this point. And what I would recommend doing is, as you assemble this, build your panels on separate layers here, just so you're not disturbing your underlying panel on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the front cell panel. And so I've selected it here. What I'm going to do is copy this. So under Edit, come here and copy. Now what I'm going to do is lock this layer and create a new one. And we'll call this the front cell panel on here. And remember, the word cell is in here, which means you can come up with a really, really beautiful design. But if people don't see it on the shelf or don't notice it, you're not going to sell the product. So a certain amount of this is advertising in addition to design in here. So now I've got this separate layer. I'm going to come up here and under Edit, I'm going to paste that panel I copied, but I'm going to do it exactly in place. So come down here, do Paste in Place. There you can see it. And just so you can see it a little bit better, I'll give it a different color. So you can see this is going to be what I'm working on this layer. So let's start with the imagery. I'm going to go find the football image that I created here. So let me go back here. Demos, there's my football player, and I'll put him in here. He's probably going to be pretty huge. Let's see. Not too bad. I'm going to send him behind my cell panel so that I can play with placement on here. And what I did, just in case you're wondering, to send it back, I always use key commands. So if you come up here under range, if you use your bracket keys, you can move stuff forward without having to go and do the drop-down menus on here. So I want to kind of position him in here. I want him to really fill the space, but I don't want to crop him off, his face off too much. So I'm probably going to make this a little bit smaller. So with the scale tool, and I can preview this, let's see what 90% looks like. There I've got his face in there. I'm cropping his elbow. That actually looks pretty good. And you can see why I needed to add that extra space at the top, because he would have just cut off here, and now it bleeds into the orange background here. So that looks pretty good. And remember, you can always come back and adjust this layer later if you want to. Obviously, you don't want this going all over creation here. So what I'm going to do is use the green panel rectangle as a clipping mask. So I selected that green rectangle in my artwork, my image. I'm going to come down here and do clipping mask make. And that will give me a better idea of what it's going to look like. Now, even though I have it placed in here, maybe I want to move it around. You can always do that even after you've done the clipping mask on here by choosing the white arrow. And that will allow you to still move the photo around. So I'm trying to get something that's going to look more dramatic here. So something like that would probably be good. So I've got an image in here now. And now what I'm going to do is go and get my type. I still happen to have that file open here. So this was the Wheaties type that I kind of settled on. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And I'm going to make sure it's grouped first of all. And then I'm going to copy it. And if I come back over here, now I can paste this in and work on placing it. So obviously, black's not going to work. I don't want my box to look like Halloween up here. So I'm going to go ahead and make it white so it stands out. And what I think I'm going to do is actually bleed it off the edges here. So I'm going to make it slightly larger on here. Now that by itself may not quite be enough on here. One thing I might consider is doing a little bit of a drop shadow on my type to really pop it off here. So what I'm going to do is copy my type here, and let's just see. I'm going to choose blue because blue is the complement of orange, and it's probably not going to be this blue. But now I'm going to bring my white type back to the front here. And I'm going to play around with doing a little drop shadow on here. Do I like that blue? I don't know if I'm really sold on it. Let's see. I'm going to double click the color picker here. What I'm thinking is maybe something that goes more kind of in the teal blue color might look really fresh on here. And pop it off a little bit more. It may need to go a little darker. Let's see. So it's really just kind of playing with your images, see what works. And now it's looking a little too green to me, so we'll take it back up here. And that looks pretty good. So I'm kind of happy with that. I've got the type bleeding off the top here. What you can also do too, obviously you don't want it, I mean, technically it could just flow onto the flaps and onto the side here, but you can also crop this with a clipping mask. And what I'm going to do is just use the pen tool here, and let me find my pen tool. And let's see, I'll start up here, go around my type. Let's not fill it in so we don't see it here. I'm going to come over here. Now here's something else I might want to do. I've got his head right here. Maybe what I want to do is explore what it would look like if I actually just made the type look like it was going behind his head. So if I come over here, come to the side here. So I'm going to use this as a clipping mask. So it's on top of everything. Remember, anything you want to use as a clipping mask needs to be on top. Now what I'm going to do is go grab the two versions of the type, and let's see what this looks like here. So the question is, can you still read the type in here? Or am I cutting off too much of the A to read it? What you can do is, let's unclip it for a second. I just hit Command Z, and let's see if we can raise my type up slightly here. And we'll just clip a little bit of the A there. And I want to make sure I'm not cropping anything. Go ahead and do this. And clipping mask make. So it's kind of a cool graphic. I may have to redo. I don't know if my helmet is exactly the right shape in here, so I might need to go and adjust this here. Come on, where is it? There's my point. So I may need to go play with this a little bit. I'm just using the points and the handles on here. But what I like is it's a very flat graphic look, but by having it go over the type, it's giving a little bit of three-dimensional feel to it. And then, so again, we're just, I may go back and make changes on this, but this is a good start to it. Then what I would suggest you do is you can do your side panel on here. So I'm pretty happy with this right now. I'm going to go ahead and lock it. I'm going to come down here to the template, and then I'm going to grab this side panel here. So I've got that. I'm going to copy it. Go ahead and lock this. Let's go ahead and create another layer here, and we'll call this the side panel. And now what I'm going to do is come up here and do what I did before, paste in place. So you can see that it's put it exactly in there. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this with orange, but I want it to match the orange that's in my image here. So I'm going to come over here, use the eyedropper tool, and just grab that orange from the front. I may need to adjust it a little bit here, maybe make it a little bit brighter. And then it's going to be up to you. Everyone's box is going to be a little different, so look on your existing package and see what they have on the side. What I wouldn't do is probably put your nutrition label on here, only because for a portfolio piece, that's not going to look... Oh, it might be okay. I'll leave it up to you. If you want to put your nutrition label on here, you can do that. I wouldn't do it if it's going to eat up the entire panel on here. If you just did the standard one that was part of the assignment, you can maybe nest it down here at the bottom of the panel and put some of the other information on here. Now, depending on what everyone's product is, it's going to be different. Some of you may have recipes on here. Some of you may have other information. So it's going to be very specific to whatever product you're doing, but this will be able to give you a start on putting this together so you have something to show for the work in progress grid.